soon as you're live.
I should be live now. I just popped up. Yes, there I am. Another day, another fun time. Ian says, welcome everyone. I also say welcome everyone. Surprisingly nice day out. Teresa says, will I get a YouTube crown for being the first one to post? Apparently, but you got a number 2 because Ian posted first. Ian says, newbies and others feel free to chip in on the convo.
As long as it's appropriate.
As long as it's appropriate. Yes, always appropriate. How did you sleep last night, Teresa, after our full moon thing? Carla says, hi, Siofra and Ian. Hi, everyone. Happy full moon. Hi, Carla. Same question for you. How did you sleep after the event? I slept pretty well until about a little after 1, I think, somewhere between 1:15 and 1:30, and the full moon was shining on my face and woke me up. So I was awake until about 3:30, I think. Teresa says, I felt spacey for a good while. All right. I felt pretty spacey too for a while.
I slept right till about 5 this.
Yeah, he slept fine until about 5 a.m. and suddenly he was like awake. And we lost power around then, so we're thinking that maybe there was a sound that woke him up, but that he didn't know what it was once he was awake, because that can happen. And we don't know how long we lost power for, but Echo says, good evening, blessed full moon. How did the live go last night? Well, I posted it on our YouTube channel, and it went really, really well. I actually figured out how to take out the beginning of the conversation before I arrived that recorded. And I put it up on YouTube so you can just watch it and find out what it was like and use it that way. I figured instead of giving everybody the Zoom link, I would just do that, at least this month, so that everybody could find it, and maybe promote the idea of the Amethyst Crystal Web Project a little bit more to some of our new people and our subscribers and so forth, and get more people involved in it, adding their energy and their expertise and interest and so forth to our endeavor, try and help the planet. Carla says, amazingly well. Teresa says, the full moon woke me up at night. She was bright and silvery majestic. Nicole says, super, I'll watch it after this. Awesome. Erin says, hello. Hi, Erin. And I know the eclipse happened already in Europe. We couldn't see it here because it was during the day on our side of the planet. So I guess, yeah, there's still lots of good energy out there. Carla says, me 3, super lightheaded in the best way. Shay says, hello everyone, blessed full moon. Thank you for removing the beginning convo from the Zoom. Well, it was a learning curve for me. Ian helped, since I did not have the program, and I had to find the program or download the program, and then I didn't know how to use the program, and he did, so he helped me with that, so I could like edit it out. I didn't add our usual beginning to it, but I figured, you know, small steps, right? And you guys know who I am by now. Teresa says the Zooms are more fun if you take part so you can interact with the other participants. Well, I think so, but, you know, still getting the word out is important. Nicholas says it was below the horizon where I am, but I felt it big time, and it turned the sky a phenomenal color. Ooh, cool. Gabrielle says, hello, beautiful people. Hi, Gabrielle. Nicholas says, I would, Teresa, but it's like 3 a.m. for me. Well, you know, people live in different parts of the planet. Go figure. We're not all in the same time zone. But hey, that's why I try to share it so that other people can participate even if they can't be there live. Because they can still add their energy to the endeavor. You don't even, you don't have to do it at all. You can just do it all on your own and still add energy to the crystal web. So, but I was definitely in the zone last night. I felt pretty present during the entire process, so that was pretty neat. Teresa says it's 10 p.m. for me, so I have my bath first and attend in my pajamas. No one knows what you're wearing. Isn't that the glory of Zoom? From here down, nobody knows what's going on. Except on some of those snafus that people have where they accidentally moved the camera when we were in lockdown. People saw their underwear. There were some pretty good clips on those things. Gabrielle's laughing. Yep. But anyhow, actually pretty nice out today. We were supposed to get more rain according to the long range forecast, but apparently the weather decided to change itself. And so it's not. It's nice out right now. Pretty cool. So where do you live, Ickle? Just out of curiosity, if you don't mind telling us. In Europe, I'm thinking maybe? Or somewhere in that direction, or maybe the other way. It'll probably be earlier in the morning if it was the other way. I don't know. I'm in the UK. Okay. That's sort of what I was thinking. But hey, you know, every so often someone from there joins. So, we had fun. There were 6 of us all together last night doing it. Ian and I, and then 4 other people. So it was great. Carla says the prism, though, Siofra, that was really special last night. Yes, sounded like marvelous. Absolutely. Certainly the energy, woke me up when the full moon was shining right on top of me and kept me pretty awake for a while. And I wasn't expecting it to be clear because we've been waking up with fog every morning, and so that was a surprise that the moon actually was there and it shone on me. So that was pretty cool. Gabrielle says, I've been hanging out with a man friend the past 3 months. I like him, but it's challenging to open up for both of us, so it's a lot of mixed signals and emotions. Well, taking it slow is probably a good idea then. Letting things unfold. We left our TV on when we came in here on an animal program because we were asked to babysit a kitten for a few hours. And our other cat, Bugsy, is not too happy about having a kitten in the house, even though the kitten is in a carrier. And my granddaughter asked us to leave the TV on to entertain the kitten, keep it calm. So Bugsy was going over and checking out the kitten and hissing at it, making those sounds, those like, the really expressive noises that you hear on YouTube videos that you go like, why is a cat saying that? Now we know why. And the bunny just sort of vanished when the other animal came in. Haven't seen him. He's probably hiding behind the stove, I bet. That's his go-to place to get out of the way and keep out from under. Yeah, so I'm telling Ickle that. How does Bunny feel about the kitten? I don't think the bunny has come out to find out how he feels about the kitten. my daughter and the other grandmother came over to our house the other day, and the bunny just went pshoo, and was gone and didn't come out for the rest of the time they were there. Strangers in the house, no! So, yeah, he likes us. And other people are like, yeah. And if he hears their voices long enough, often enough, then he gets comfortable with the idea that they're in the house. But yeah, it took a couple of times before my son and his wife could actually lay eyes on the bunny. So he's funny that way. I guess we're safe. We're bunny safe. Gabrielle says he's like a male version of me, so it's kind of funny. Well, that sounds promising. Oh, she says, yep, we're taking it slow, and I feel the need to just create space and to not worry about it either way. Yeah, and that is definitely the best way. When Ian and I first met, even though I knew we were going to be together for a long time and that he was the one for me, I didn't feel any pressure at all and just waited to see what was going to happen. And, and sometimes that's the best way. Like I had no expectations. I was just happy to be around him for however long it was going to be, was sort of how I felt about it at the time. And I'm glad that we're still around each other, and so it's awesome.
Absolutely.
Teresa says, that's an interesting pendant. Yeah, this is an amethyst that Jacqueline made and gave me. Max says, is there such a thing as nothing? I don't think so. Do you think there's a nothing?
Well, I'd go to that. I'd go to a definition and see what the definition of nothing is. And say, because I mean, as in an absence of what? Material objects, things. I mean, you can have zero donuts, which I have right now.
That's true. We have zero donuts.
So I don't, what? I'd have to find out what he's really trying.
What exactly do you mean by a nothing?
There's relative nothingness. Space would be relative nothingness, but of course
it's
we know
filled with all
particles.
Sorts of things. Yes, it's
But
got
it's relative,
like hydrogen molecules all over the place and water. And
relative to what you're talking to, I mean, or you're talking about.
Are you talking about no thoughts?
Very little matter.
Yeah, you can maybe find a space where there might be nothing, a small space of nothing, out in space somewhere. Like, is there an eternal void?
Well, there is the perception of such a thing which people experience in mystical states. And also, if you're looking at the Akasha, it's everything and nothing at the same time, because it's nothing because it's not materialized down, but it's everything in that everything is in it in potential. So it's like all the opposite polarities are in there, and they all cancel out as long as they're in there until something materializes down and unsettles the balance. So, and again, are you talking mental, astral, physical planes? So I'd say it's pretty hard to find nothing, really.
Yeah, I think so too.
But you can perceive it in meditational states and things as a big void.
So.
But usually that's only a state that gets passed through.
Right, temporary.
Yes.
Because things are constantly changing.
Well, if you go through, we're talking like the Hindu meditations and things, if you go through the void state, you come out to the crown chakra generates a light that they consider brighter than 10 million suns, and you can reach that once you pass through the void you go through internally in the experience. So
yeah,
you
there's a lot of
through the void meditationally like that. I don't know how to answer it any better than that.
Gabrielle says, yep, I enjoy his company. Carla says, my cat's like that. She'll hide when someone comes and won't come out until they leave. And Max added, love the channel, by the way. Sorry for the weird question.
Weird questions are just fine. We just might take us some time to think about it, whether we can answer them or not.
Well, yeah, because we, amazingly enough, don't know absolutely everything.
I love weird myself, because weird is not boring. I hate boring and repetitive more than a lot of people do.
We like to think.
Yeah.
and consider things. We're not afraid to
Yep.
look at ideas and concepts and so forth. And I had an experience once where I experienced what I called silence, like the most amount of silence I've ever experienced, and it was like silence between the stars or something. It's kind of hard to describe. It was sort of an akashic kind of thing because I could see the stream of time going below me, and in that state I could go down and I could pick, and look at different threads of connections or concepts or things or what have you. But I didn't like how it felt. It felt very strange to my body for sure. And I didn't do that very often. I only did that a couple of times. But it was very interesting for sure. And every so often, I mean, a couple of months ago, I woke up and for a moment, it was like I was nothing. I had no identity. There were things in the room, but it was like, it was hard to describe what that feeling was like. And it was interesting. It only lasted for a few seconds. And then I was me again. I was like, okay. So Gabrielle says that's cool. Well, Carla got to be number one because she put in so many comments. I think that's how they do these crowns, by the number of comments
Monster.
or something. I don't know.
Words.
But yeah, I was wearing this particular pendant last night when we were doing the crystal web. So I was charging it up. I've charged it up a lot during the full moon and amethyst crystal thing. And I added this necklace I haven't worn for a while. I put this amethyst necklace on too before I came out here just to have it. Gabrielle says, I've had that happen to me before where I was nothing, no past or future. Your ego just needed a moment to regroup from being merged with source. Something like that, I think. And I saw some article they were talking about that experience that people have from time to time. Scientists found it surprising, I think. It's been a while since I read the article, so don't quote me on that. I read a lot of articles, scientific, etc. I'm a curious person. I like to know what's going on around me and be prepared for whatever might be coming. I've been having interesting dreams lately. I had a funny one during the week where there was a lot of people in my house, and the details, of course, are pretty fuzzy at this point, but somebody was asking me about psychics and getting a psychic reading or this person or something like that. And I was quipping, oh, yeah, well, they don't know what the heck they're talking about. They may think they're psychic, but maybe they're not, just a complete and total fraud. And they might genuinely believe they're psychic, but most people are so far in the muck, they don't know what they're doing. So apparently I was very straightforward, let's say, in my dream state. And I woke up laughing. I'm like, okay, that was kind of entertaining. So Teresa said, last week I was doing some very deep and intense goddess work, and I found that the guided meditations I listened to daily sounding peculiarly slow over the course of a few days. So are they slow because your brain is fast, or is your recording getting slow? I don't know. What kind of device are you using? I'm assuming it's not a tape recorder because most people don't use those anymore. Cassettes. We used to have a tape recorder when I was a kid, big one, a reel to reel. My father had. I was exposed to classical music on that when I was pretty young. Teresa says, do you think that my energy shifted higher and my experience of the music sounded slower as a result? I don't know. It's possible. You could have had a time distortion.
Well, I have observed if you enter a certain state of concentration and awareness, um, things will appear to slow down. Now, this is one of the things that's known in martial arts. Once you reach a certain level of practice and awareness, things seem to slow down. But what has happened is not that they've actually slowed down in this case that I'm talking about, but that your brain has become so much more attuned and you're so much more aware of each and individual aspect of the movement and motion that it seems much slower because you can absorb it much more thoroughly. So it's an aspect of increased concentration and focus that seems to slow down time. And when I was doing some exercises focusing on the movement of the pendulum of a clock and just focusing on the movement, I got where I could reach that state fairly easily, and it seems to you objectively as if it's moving much slower. Well, it's really not. So it's your perception of time that improves and makes it seem to move slower because you're perceiving it that much more clearly and thoroughly, if that makes any sense. I've experienced
Yeah.
it, and that's the best I can describe it.
Well, and I've also had instances where my perception of time is completely different than the actual relative time, objectively speaking. Like in a crisis situation, I had a time when I had this guy who just like pulled right in front of me, and I was going 40 miles an hour, and I was going to hit him. And I had so much detail from that experience. I could see his face, his wife's face, the two children in the back seat. I had time to think about the fact that I was going to hit his door. It was like a Volkswagen, not a Volkswagen, a station wagon thing. And that if I hit him, that I would probably kill him because there was just this thin door between me and him. And that I thought about putting on the brake and realized that there was no time for me to put on a brake because taking my foot off the gas and putting my foot on the brake, I would hit him by the time I got my foot there. And my only move I had was to crank my wheel really far. I didn't have time to look and see if there was anyone in the lane next to me or anything like that. And I did that, and then I came back. And the amount of information that I was able to absorb and sift through and make decisions about clearly couldn't have happened in the minuscule fraction of a second that I had to actually react. So certainly the brain's ability to slow time down sometimes is quite remarkable, or to at least appear as if it is. So, yeah.
Well, and that's how it works in the martial arts. Once you get that stage, it's almost they consider it you're almost reacting before the person even moves. You get there and intercept their movement before they even seem to move.
Yeah, because you know where it's
You can
going.
actually respond that much faster once you reach that clear. So, yeah, it's end result is the same as if time actually slows down for you, but it's a perceptual change.
Right, not in actuality.
But it amounts to the same result. I mean, it works for martial artists because they're that much more effective if they can reach that state while they're doing it. But it requires a single-minded focus of concentration without distracting thoughts and things.
Yeah, after I had that event happen and I got to think about what had just happened, I was like, what? Wow, that's amazing.
Well, that's usually when those kind of things happen when you're not aware, because that's usually when your mind shuts off. For that to happen, your brain has to shut off to a certain extent and let perception take over.
So Teresa said that they were YouTube videos. They shouldn't have been altered. Gabrielle added, I've had them happen with mantras that I play on YouTube loop. The beings in my home will alter the sound or voice, or they'll sing with it. The mantra I play all night is Om, set to beautiful Hindu beats. The singer has such a velvety baritone voice, I fall asleep within 5 minutes. Beth says, hi everyone. Hi Beth, welcome. Gabrielle says, and the Kundalini syncs up and I feel like I'm being rocked to sleep in an ocean of consciousness. That sounds nice. And Max says, happy face. Teresa says, and then there was that incident with the amethyst videos where I was gifting them to the Fae. And then there were the times when I slowed down falling objects to keep them from breaking. Yep. Sometimes things like that happen. And then once I used an astral arm to stop someone from falling down a flight of stairs, which I couldn't have done. So unexplainable things can take place. It's pretty remarkable. And usually they happen when you're not thinking about them. They're instinctive.
But yeah, that's the thing, and thought actually hinders a lot of that stuff. A lot of those things have to come out of just action in the moment if they're going to happen automatically like that a lot of times. Of course, that's the whole focus of Zen is being in the moment at all times. So if you succeed, you get that everything seems slower effect because you're so much more able to deal with it because you're not, your thoughts aren't taken up by other energy, by thinking about things or things you have to do at home, and that's their whole discipline really is being in the moment at all times.
Teresa says, weird, huh? Gabrielle says, I have less fear in my life. I'm not afraid of entities, and I'm getting better at setting boundaries. Awesome. This fear is like I don't know what quite the right word is, but it's like not useful or helpful response.
Right, in most cases, yeah.
Unless it's to trigger you to run because there's a bear coming in the door. So, that would be where fear is useful as far as it goes, and instant fleeing and whatnot. Gabrielle says, even spending time with my man friend is a positive step in the right direction, I bet. And I feel safer in my body, and it's great. Well, that's awesome. Carla says, I recently saw a video of a bunch of children spinning paper with their minds. Not sure if it's real, but it was shared from someone who taught me dowsing.
Well, I think it's
Potentially possible.
Yeah, I think it's potentially possible. I haven't myself seen any videos that have convinced me, but
we're harder to convince of things anyway.
Well, especially since,
unless we're standing there in person, it's really hard.
Part of it is because we know how a lot of it, the fake stuff is done, and we know how easy it would be to fake some of it. And just because something can be faked doesn't mean it is being faked. I mean, I'm afraid a lot of scientists tend to throw things under the bus because of that. Well, you could have faked it this way, you could have faked it that way. But just because it could be fake doesn't mean it was. But on the other hand, I'm very skeptical unless somebody shows me something major.
Cal says, loved your video today, very powerful. Now if the curtains would stop touching the floor, then rise up 5 inches, all will be well. So your curtains are too long, are they?
That wind blowing into the door.
Ah, I see. Yep. Gabrielle says, I can move things with my mind occasionally, but I have little control over it. Like if I get upset, stuff will start moving. Carla says, it was a school setting, the video where they were spinning. Yeah.
Well,
but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, well,
and sure, send it to us. We'll have a look at it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just like, okay, so here's a funny one I just thought about the other day. I saw a video of what looks like a witch riding a broom in the sky. Turns out that it's an owl who is stealing a hobby horse. One of those.
Owl stole a hobby horse?
Yes.
That's pretty funny.
An owl came down and stole a hobby horse and was flying with it. And someone took a video of it, and someone else says, that looks like a witch flying a broomstick, and it took off.
Well, that's not what you expect to see, an owl carrying a hobby horse. I mean,
And why, we don't know what was going on in the owl's mind.
You're likely to think all kinds of things. You see something
it seems
like
it was a little bit big
heck?
to make a nest out of, and it wasn't alive, so you couldn't eat it. I don't know what the owl was thinking, but yes. So, anyway. Teresa says, Beth, get some hem tape for those curtains. Beth says, certainly they're moving constantly. Gabrielle says, there's a psychic school where children are being trained, Monroe Institute. And there are other schools where they are being trained to remote view and read books blindfolded. And Beth is laughing probably at my owl story because there's an owl right there. Yeah, and of course, we know the Monroe Institute, and they do a lot of interesting experiments there.
If you want to see a funny show about it, remote viewing experiments that the military did, watch the show called The Men Who Stare at Goats with George Clooney and not walking, but what's his name?
Can't remember who else.
Anyway, about three really well-known famous actors. I can see their faces. I can't think of their names, but it's a hysterical view of the real
The real experiments.
the
they
real
did with remote
experiments the
viewing.
military did and how bizarre it got. So it's pretty funny.
And
Pretty
a lot of it is
hysterically
true.
funny. And that's the funniest part is it's the real thing. You can find the information online because I looked a lot of it up afterwards, like their manifesto and that they came up with. And yep, pretty hysterical.
Teresa says today a raven was in the goat's yard carrying off their food. I should put a hobby horse in there. I don't know. Ravens are big. Maybe they could carry one.
The reason they stared at goats is they were trying to kill them psychically.
Yes, and one of them
That's
did die.
for the name of the show.
Yeah, men who stare at goats. And Gabrielle says children can learn telekinesis a lot more easily. Carla is laughing her behind off, and Gabrielle says I've been meaning to watch that.
It's pretty great.
Highly recommend it. It's hysterical. Beth says Teresa, I'm just rolling with it. It started after Siofra's magical meditation. Ah, with the wind flying. Okay, Gabrielle, you must. It's amazing. The movie, Men Who Stare at Goats. It's pretty good. Surprising movie. I love the end when he slams into the wall.
Yes. I'm going to go through this wall now. Yeah, you just have to.
You have to believe it. You have to totally believe it. No doubt whatsoever. Through the wall. Yes. Gabrielle says, some guy online sent me a video of male remote viewers watching a woman to try to scare me into going to him for training.
Yeah.
Well, that's gross,
yeah,
creepy, and not okay.
That type
Blech.
of thing, to me, that type of thing just guarantees, I'm going to stay away from anything like that as far as possible.
No kidding.
I've seen, they're doing stuff like that. I've seen them before, too. And it's like, well, up you guys. You just lost me for any interest in
any interest whatsoever.
Yeah.
No way.
Yep, they do things like that.
Carla says, I wonder if that's what it was. My dowsing teacher is from Italy, so everything is in Italian, but I didn't notice Monroe mentioned. How cool. But yes, they were learning. Gabrielle says, I laughed at him. He's a remote viewer and manipulative. No kidding. Manipulative, misogynistic, controlling, probably narcissist. I mean, he checks all the boxes, the bad ones. It's like, Carla says, I'll have to watch it. Yeah. Men Who Stare at Goats. Gabrielle says, yeah, I want nothing to do with them. Good. Gabrielle says, hi, everyone. I'm with Luna now. We've missed you. It's crazy how life gets in the way of us living our lives the way we want, like being here more. Eclipse was cool here. I hope everyone saw it. Well, we can't see it here because it was only visible in Europe and Africa. So, no, we didn't see it. But that's okay. We figured it would be quite fabulous. We did do the full moon thing last night, and the full moon came into my window and woke me up, and a bunch of other people got woke up by their full moon too, and nice to see you here. Welcome.
Yeah, I was looking at some of your pictures and stuff, your wedding pictures and stuff that I hadn't looked through before, and Luna's cake was just amazing.
Oh, God, it's gorgeous.
That was incredible, yeah.
I loved her design. Cool. I thought it was great, and I told her so. And it's like, So congrats, and yay, you did it. And don't you have another little celebration coming up this month? And Beth says, fear-based clickbait, bad mojo. Yeah. Yeah, like follow me or else I'll be watching you. Is that the message this guy has? Do what I want or else? I'd be doing some sending back to sender things. Return to sender stuff. Bam. Automatic, probably.
Tell him he has a bunch of ghosts. You can see it psychically that are watching him all the time when he's in the shower.
Oh, God. All the spirit beings that are watching him take a shower. And this is funny because as a paranormal investigator, it's one of the most common questions I get from people when they have a haunting. Are they watching me when I'm naked? I'm like, why would
Frankly,
they care?
they don't care. Yeah.
Are you that great that they want to watch you when you're naked? They're dead, you know. It's like,
Yeah, well, it's kind of silly anyway. I mean, you get the remote viewing. It doesn't necessarily just work like that. It's not like some lech is spying over and drooling over you while they're remote viewing. I mean, you know, if they reach that physical of a state, it'll pop them right out. I mean, it's pretty hard to remote view and have physical things happening like that. Like and really be remote viewing.
that
So
says it has. I
it's
has
an
all the
annoying,
windows and doors open
annoying
all
tactic.
night. It was so cleaning. Yay. Flowing in and flowing out.
Well, so I just had to tell YouTube to release your comment, Gabriel. I don't know why.
I'm not seeing
There's
it.
no pornography in it. It says Gabriel says I just blocked him. If he remote views my place, I'll drain him of energy or sick Durga on him. And I don't know why it held that.
YouTube is sometimes so silly.
Maybe think Durga is a pornography rather than a version of Kali. Yeah. Beats me. But anyway,
Okay,
I unblocked
good
it.
for
So
you.
if it doesn't show up for anybody, I told it not to block it.
All right, and he said what it was, so now we all know. It's a part of the public record now, whether it shows up in print or not. Jono says, signing wedding papers at the registry office on the 26th. Thanks for the kindness on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook, so I've been useless at letting my bride feel special on that platform. Beth says, icky energy, man. Yeah, no
Yeah.
kidding. Blah. But at least you know who he is, right? I mean, what he stands for.
Coercion. Coercion is what he stands
And
for.
knowing the truth and the reality of it is way better than being tricked and thinking it's something else and then finding out later that that's what it is. So my philosophy is, if someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Yeah, because coercion is the approach, and it's likely that that person who set that up, who set up the coercion part, is going to do that throughout all of their life and everything they do. It's usually not just restricted to one thing. It's usually part of their personality. So
Yeah,
they're probably a very coercive person, whoever set up that approach
it
to
seems
it.
pretty clear.
Yeah.
And they're not shy about letting everybody know. Carlos says, I saw an old Stephen King movie about that. It might have been called The Dead Zone.
Well, there was certainly a series called that, which was
Well,
about a
yeah,
psychic, but that was not the. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll look that up real quick.
Beth says,
Stephen
Jono,
King.
congratulations. Gabrielle says, ha ha. And Carla says, congrats, Jono. Yes. Thanks, everyone, Jono replies.
Yeah, okay. Oh, it was. Oh, it was the movie for that they based the series on. Okay.
Yeah, they did both a movie and a series.
Yeah, so it was yeah, it was that it was the name of the Stephen King movie, and it was what they based the series on. All right, I remember now that I've looked it up.
Gabrielle says, yep, thanks, guys, for helping me set that boundary. I just need to talk it out for it to click in my brain. That's why we're here. Gabrielle says, needed. Yes. Well, that's why we're here still.
Yep.
We don't mind. I mean, I got in trouble with a massage therapist, acupuncturist couple. They're a couple, and I would see the massage therapist, the woman part of the couple, in this case, and then she would tell me some obnoxious, stupid things that the male part of the couple were doing, and I would go, you shouldn't have to put up with that kind of behavior. That makes no sense. That's not okay. So he banned her from seeing me. He felt that I was a threat to their relationship. Duh. I'm thinking he was right, because it's not a healthy relationship, but it's not my business. So I can't get worked on her by anymore because of that. I found it interesting that,
That was kind of unfortunate because he
yeah,
kind of like killed a growing friendship there that was getting started. And but
yeah.
yep,
But, it's interesting. So I have a hard time keeping my mouth shut if I see something is gonna bad might be coming. I'm much more likely to just blurt it out and say it. People are free to ignore me, obviously, but that's me. I've done that for most of my life, I think. Not in the beginning. In the beginning, I was a lot more circumspect because I didn't know for sure exactly who I was. So it took a while, but yeah. But I really see stuff. I've had so many of those types of experiences with different types of people that I see the beginnings of the process. So I can, and once I see the beginning couple of steps, that I know where it's leading. And so I see no point in going any further because there it is. That's
yeah,
how it's
it's
going
a
to
having the same
evolve.
repeated experiences over time, like
Yeah.
trying to talk sense to Christians or one thing of mine. It's like I just quit. I just don't even bother. There's no point in trying. There's just
It's like trying to talk
I
sense
just
to a
like
drunk.
just
That doesn't work
tell them
either.
to talk to the hand and go away. Because
Yeah.
yep,
Beth says clients do want to spill their guts when they're on the table. If I pick up something, I have to say it. Yeah, and actually, I did a good thing. I mean, because of that, now that I have that, I had a client on my table one day, and she was telling me about how angry she was in her relationship. Her partner was becoming more aggressive and more violent. He had actually thrown an entire desk out of a window, and she, I'm telling her that's not okay. That's an act of violence, even if he's not hitting you with the desk. It's still an escalation and not a good situation. And then she's talking about she's going to go and she's going to like break it off with him and tell her she's telling him tell him that she's leaving him right now. And I'm like, no, don't do that, because this is like the most dangerous time in this kind of relationship. Get yourself your own bank account, make some money, put it aside, have an escape plan. Don't tell him you're doing it. Walk out the door when he's not around. You can tell him afterwards. And I only saw her that one time. And then quite a while later, a few years later, I was at a local bank branch and she was my teller. And I didn't even recognize her because it had been so long. And she told me that I saved her life because she listened to me, which is often the case. People don't listen. So I was very glad that she followed my advice and that she got out of it and she was safe and much happier now. So yeah, I have a tendency to just sort of like, hey, no, don't do that. So Gabrielle says, I was not worried about him or remote viewers. It was more disturbing that he was trying to make me afraid so I could be mentored by him. He also said inappropriate things to me and I ignored him. Good.
yeah, that's that was kind of my whole point. There was anybody who would do that kind of thing is coerce somebody into stuff. It's just there's something wrong there, and it won't be the only time they'll
Yeah.
the whole relationship with them will be coercive.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sets the tone.
Yep.
Once they know what
Yeah.
boundaries they're allowed to cross, they'll keep crossing them.
Yeah. Some teachers aren't worth learning from, even if they know their subject. It's like in a way, this is like one of those things that ticks off people around here is talking bad about Osho. But that's I kind of lost where I was heading exactly with my point on that. But um, where was I heading with that?
I can't help you. I'm sorry. I don't know. If it comes back, jump in.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's my brain is went away.
That happens to me too. And Carla says, I kind of remember the series too. Was the kid from the Breakfast Club in the series? I do remember that it didn't turn out well in the movie. I don't remember who was in
Yeah.
it. Jano says, can Reiki be good for kids? We're thinking one of our kids, 13 years old, might benefit, but want to ask Reiki masters what you think. Oh, absolutely. Reiki
Yeah.
can be used on infants. I mean, Reiki is good for anybody, any age. And how was your experience, by the way? It was Reiki, wasn't it? Or was it like cranial sacral? I can't remember. Donald was going in for, and he asked how he should be in it. I remember that part of the conversation. So how did it go? Carla says, if I found out someone was nosing into my crap, I'd give them something to see. Sylph says, do you have any good psychology books that are somewhat magic adjacent that you would recommend? Okay, so not really, but I think that magic is really good as like a missing piece of some uh, psychological therapy and so forth. I
Yeah,
found
you can do a lot of,
ritual to be like a
yeah,
part where you can actually work with and transform your own unconscious and subconscious by using ritual to do it in a conscious way. Um, Sort of sounds contradictory there, but what I mean, you choose to go and connect and directly interact with those parts of yourselves to reshape yourselves into the person you want to be. So
yeah, it's
I
very,
think it's like the missing piece of, going from a victim to a
well,
survivor to a warrior, for example.
yeah, is the advantage is there's techniques and things that they don't
Use.
have access to and don't
Right.
use that I have found myself to be very useful
Yeah. Carla says, my
for that.
emoji was supposed to be a wink. Donna says, Sylph, I haven't read him, but Jung is famously magic adjacent. And he does have some stuff in there about, dream and I read the book, Descent of the Goddess, is written by a Jungian analyst. I recommend that book. It's pretty interesting from that perspective. So that might be something to look into. I can't remember who the author of it is, but I don't think there's very many of them. It's not a very large book, and it's the story of Inanna and Ereshkigal and how myth can show us some psychological, archetypal truths and so forth. And a lot of the people that this particular analyst worked with apparently were having dreams like that when they were going through their therapy. So I thought that was an interesting link to more magical oriented type of thinking. And like I said, Jung is definitely into the whole archetypal gods, goddesses, and so forth in dream analysis and whatnot. To get more into that. Beth says Carla, laughing. Carla says, Beth, I would too. And it's like charismatic ministers, deadly. Donna says, Luna and I did get Reiki. Luna had a good experience. Her and the Reiki person felt an old woman's presence. She helped open Luna's third eye. I thought it was cool, but I'm less sensitive. Well, maybe it helped anyway.
Yeah, and it depends too on the person that was doing the Reiki.
Well, there's always that combination relationship between the practitioner and the
Yeah.
receiver.
Well, when it's coming through a person, anything to do with Reiki is supposedly going through the individual who's doing it as a channel, but if people are not very clear, they can get their own energy mixed with it or not pass it all the way through too, so that you can have better or not so good Reiki practitioners depending on their skill level and their amount of practice and
Yeah,
all those
all
things.
those things.
Their attention, whether they had a bad breakfast that morning, everything.
Carla says, I feel magic is neuroplasticity. I think it certainly helps with keeping your mind alert and changing. Pickle says, I have yet to meet a decent student of psychology who didn't land in spiritual or hermetic practice in one way or another. Donna says, so I didn't have a life changing experience. I did feel the lady squeezing my energy like it was a tube of toothpaste.
This sounds a little odd for Reiki, squeezing your energy. Normally, it's putting the energy in that's channeled from above, and use the Reiki symbols and channel those through.
Yep, I don't know. Like I said, it's very, different depending on who's doing it. You could always have me do a distance Reiki and see if there's a difference.
Well, I know, from the perspective of doing Reiki, you can definitely feel it when you're doing it on somebody, and I could feel whether it's working. I worked on a guy with cancer once, and it was like pouring energy into a black hole. Usually, normally, whenever I do Reiki on somebody, I get some kind of a response back from them. know that my energy's going. You can feel when it's time to move on down to the next place if you're doing a whole body Reiki. I mean, there's interaction on some level, some energetic level that you can feel as you're doing it. Um, I guess that's not really relevant to what Jono experienced, or not so much experienced, but yeah.
But I mean, it is very individual.
Yeah.
And even the same practitioner with different people is going to maybe have
Some
a
people
different
won't
response.
feel anything, and then some people won't notice anything at the time, but they'll feel really good the next day, kind of thing. And because they're just not aware of, if people that aren't aware of their energy, it'll be there and it'll work on them, but they won't really be aware of it
It might
until
take
they
time
feel
to
better.
process.
Yeah, that's what happened with
Yeah.
at least one of your clients that I did Reiki on. His name, obviously, I don't want to say.
But hey, it's always good to be open to new things.
Yep. Really?
Someone else has been blocked?
Yes, Beth, because she said she's worked on a black hole. But anything with the word, I don't get it.
Okay, Beth has worked on a black hole.
So
Energetically speaking,
so YouTube held it.
for some unknown reason. Not like we have that as a list of words.
No, I think, I don't know. I think maybe we ought to complain to YouTube that all these things are being held for no valid reason whatsoever.
You know, their algorithm is off. But that's why we have you, so that you can let them through. Or tell me. Beth says, oh my. Gabrielle says, would Reiki benefit a person with Kundalini, or does the Kundalini itself keep things clear?
Depends on how well your Kundalini is working, whether it keeps things clear. If it's working well enough, but if you've got blockages and things like that, Reiki could be a big help. So it could go either way with Reiki. It could either help or not do so much, but at the least, I don't think it would do any harm to have Reiki when you had Kundalini going, if it's a real Reiki practitioner and such.
Jono says, Luna is upset with me because I mischaracterized her Reiki experience. There was an older lady from about 400 years ago who told Luna she's from an old line of witches. Luna told me this, and I forgot.
Okay, well.
Well, that's what happens when you're trying to express someone else's experience, because you weren't at the center of it. So it's understandable. It can happen.
Yeah, and witches and that, and seeing the past and all that isn't really directly related to Reiki. So it sounds like that's another.
It's a relaxation state.
Maybe the woman is psychic or something anyway, or whoever was doing the Reiki was psychic and that. But yeah, it doesn't relate directly to Reiki as such.
Right. Reiki is just generally speaking about healing.
The energy and the heat.
Carla says, Reiki woke up my palms, if that makes sense. Any sense? Yes, because your palm chakras are one of the places that you use for healing. Healing energy. When I'm doing distance or in-person energy work, my palm chakras definitely become quite active.
And those, if you go through a real Reiki attunement when you're getting trained, you should have those symbols put in your palms to activate your palm chakra specifically.
Gabrielle says, I feel the energy or Kundalini move through the toric field of my aura in a loop. Carla says, after someone performed it on me, I could sense energy in my palms, with my palms. Good. Yeah. Beth says, FYI, several content creators I watch went from several thousand views to around 100 this week. Well, that's rather big drop. Teresa says, I was testing to see if my comment would be posted if I wrote black hole. And it was.
Nope, it wasn't held, though.
She said black hole up there.
Yeah, wasn't held.
And it wasn't held. Gabrielle says, it's a constant loop of energy, so I don't feel a lot of blocks, but it's not always smooth, so it's probably still purging. Gabrielle says, laugh out loud, Beth. There's a black hole. Yep. Darkbit says, your discussion on wands and the visualization aspect has helped me. Thank you very much. Do you write books? I am currently in the process of transcribing all of my videos for closed captions, and I'm going to put the different subjects together in a book format. So I'm working on it, so that people can have it in writing. I figure why not? So yeah, it's a current project, but I don't have any right now. I know everybody learns differently. Some people like to hear the words, some people like to see the words, some people like to see the images and so forth, so. But storytelling and doing the videos was how I started this, trying to uh, explain and share some of the knowledge base that I have acquired after all these years of doing this since I was pretty small. And storytelling is kind of in my family. We're a whole family of storytellers. And so it seemed like a natural way to do it rather than trying to write it all out. And I think it was a wise choice to make at that point, because every time someone asks me a question, I sometimes remember other things that I did or learned or saw or felt or had happen or what have you, that I hadn't written down anywhere or said anywhere else. And so it's helping me to get a little bit more of a complete picture of what I do know. So, yeah, it's been interesting, and thank you for opening that. I was going to ask. Gabrielle says, I also feel a magnetic or static sensation around me sometimes, and I'm not sure it's spirits or my own field. I can feel energy in my palms like static. Carla says, I want a signed copy. That means we have to publish it and not be an ebook. We'll see. That's a whole different subject altogether that I don't know much about. Considering the fact that my former partner managed to get some books, we could maybe do something like that where we can have a publish on demand kind of a thing go on. Figure that out. So then I don't have extra copies. People can order the copy and then send it to me and I'll sign it. I don't know. Gabrielle says, then at night I can see the web of energy, or maybe it's the etheric web that's connected with everything. I've been really seeing that a lot lately. I've really been tuning into the threads of the universe, the cosmic web. I don't know what else to call it, where I can feel things from where I am spreading out in different directions and follow different currents and things like that and bring things back from there. I've also been exploring a lot of the places I've been to in my dreams that I've created that are now places on the astral plane, I'm assuming, which is kind of interesting. Like, I have specific locations that I've gone to so often in the dream state that they're becoming like memories. It's just bizarre. Donna says, wow, Siofra, decades of pressure from all the people who love you and respect your wisdom, and you're finally going to do a book. It must feel good to tell people you're doing a book now. Well, it's slowly starting. I still have a couple of hundred videos to go through and transcribe before I can actually start on the book part, but I'm working with it. Carla says, I can feel the grid, Gabrielle. I call it a grid. Sometimes I feel the magnetic pull on my legs. Gabrielle says, yes, I think that's it, Carla. Carla says, you would love that, Siofra.
Yeah, Eckhart Tolle calls that presence in general, but feeling the energy field within you, and then yeah, if you can be aware of the external aspects interacting with that energy field, so it could be internal and both. But yeah, I can definitely feel it when I pay attention to it. I feel the external energy, my internal energy field, feel it over my body. It's one way to to help maintain silence and not think so much. Feel it on your body and be aware of it, and then be aware of everything outside you and all the sounds that come in and interact with you and all that, and do it all without thinking. Don't think about it. Just be there, immersed in it. And yeah,
Well,
you can become aware of everything. That all the outside stuff impinges on that energy field, all the subtle energies and things.
yeah, I've really noticed in going to bed, just before I'm about to go to sleep, I feel like I'm in sort of a cocoon of my own energy, and then I'm connected to that web of everything else, and I can feel all those um, threads in different directions and stuff. It's interesting, and just being open to feeling the different pulls. Oh, I got visited by my dragon last night. I hadn't seen him in a long time. That's because of the moon thing, I think, because in a guided meditation, I flew the moon on his back, and he showed up last night before I went to sleep after the amethyst crystal web thing. And I was petting his scales and noticing how they weren't hard, and they were very much reminded me of a snake. The power of the muscles and stuff like that, and they weren't like a shell kind of scale like I thought they might be. He's an iridescent green, and he's pretty cute. So I was probably flying to the moon last night a few times after I went to bed. So Gabrielle says, oh, Carla says, you would love that, Siofra. And Gabrielle says, yeah, I'll feel a pulling sensation on my legs at night. And Gabrielle says, when I'm laying down. Beth says, I did have a deja vu in the early morning. My male cat that owns me walked by me. In 1 second, it happened again. Carla says, I would love that, Siofra. Sigh. Gabrielle says, cool, Siofra. Dark Bit says, do you respect the dead orgone energy that has pulled around cities and how to clear it? Dead orgone energy, is this one of what's his name's
Wilhelm Reich, but
his
I don't
terms?
know enough about that idea to, yeah.
What I experience around cities is what we call wall crawlers, and they're extremely negative, and they feed off of fear and anxiety and anger and rage and confusion and addiction and everything else. So I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about or if that's a different thing altogether. A lot of those energies is like, ley lines can help to clear them out, but if it's what I think you're talking about, sort of an accumulation of all that stuff that people are going through and they're not clear. So you can't just clear it out by yourself. It's easier to clear it out away from people than it is with people. Although I can clear individual spaces, like I can do a house, I can do an apartment building, I can
Yeah, you
do
can
that one
like
on one.
focus on having a black rock suck it up that you bury somewhere and let the earth
Right.
regenerate it, take that energy and recycle it into something usable, that kind of thing. We did something like that around here in Coos Bay years ago, where we went around and we used a bunch of black obsidian and stuff, and we charged them up and planted them in the ground deep to try and suck all the negative energy out of the area as much as we could.
It's one of the reasons I'm doing the Amethyst Crystal Project, because then I don't have to go plant crystals everywhere on the planet. They're already there. And by connecting all the amethysts together and feeding into that every month and charging it up, we've been doing it since 2018. I think it's 2018 or
Sounds
2019,
about right.
somewhere
Yeah.
in there. And then, sort of
Spread the positive energy. Yep.
spreading the joy, peace, tranquility energy throughout the web so that other people can access that where they need it the most, especially when they're in places where there's not enough energy around, so that they can tap into it. Gabrielle says, I want to make a Labubu forest with tree houses and fairies. Sylph says, I got a guide about Tai Chi recently. Yeah, Tai Chi is a good exercise and helps with your energy flow a lot. Gabrielle says, phew, I feel normal now. Thanks, guys. Dark Bit says, I meant to identify or take notice of, not respecting. So probably the answer is yes. I do notice it, and it manifests to me in different ways. And I think I answered the question accidentally. So if not, ask a different way or another question, and for me to say more about it, and that's fine. Gabrielle says, experiencing this stuff by myself used to be scary, but now I realize it's not bad. Carla says, yes, I feel it most strongly right before sleep, too. If I can push myself to stay awake, that's when I see shadows. Dark Bit said, thank you for your insight. I'm so glad I found you. Okay, so I must have accidentally answered the question. Good. It's always good.
Well, it was about the orgone energy, and
Yeah.
basically, if he wants to get rid of it, he can do, basically what we said, like plant some obsidian around or something to suck it up, kind of thing. I think the orgone energy is just a different way of speaking about the same stuff.
Yeah, different term.
Anyway, yeah.
So Ickle says, how do you find ley lines? I have seen a bunch of maps, but they often contradict each other. Yes. maps are not correct. It's like those are people's guesses about where they should be, but ley lines are more like blood vessels in the human body. They can change direction and current, and they can grow in new places. They can die off in one place and then go somewhere else. They're more like rivers and streams than they are like, they're not really straight lines when it comes to it. Although every so often you can come across one that is like a giant stream, like that experience I had when I healed the ley line at Big Sur. Those are rare; those are really large ones. But yeah, feeling them is how I go by. I mean, I can sense them.
I can't, by the way. Not
Yeah,
sensitive. Sensitive some things, not ley lines.
I can feel the nodes, the power spots, and when I'm on one of those, I know what that is. If I'm doing a paranormal investigation kind of thing and there's a ley line, even a small one going through a house, I can feel the push of the energy coming in and I can tell which direction it's going. And most people don't respond positively to being on top of a ley line. I mean, they're everywhere, so there's going to be some people that are living on them. And so what I do in a situation like that is I redirect the energy from the ley line and I push it down into the ground under the house and then pull it back up on the other side of the house. So the house, the domicile becomes kind of like an island in the stream, and it helps the people who are living on it to not be constantly barraged and bombarded by constant shifting energies and so forth. So it's a subtle form of energy that you may become sensitive to and become aware of, and then know what it is. Um, a lot of power spots are in places where people have built temples, churches, and sacred spots and so forth around the planet. And if you find like the Seven Hills of Ireland are undoubtedly power spots, and there's ley lines going around them. I'm sure that Stonehenge is on a power spot. There's probably a lot of old temples in other countries that are also on power spots, and you can sort of get a feel for what that's like. If you find one in the woods, the way I know that there's a major one coming is that there is a specific series of sensations that I get. First is like my legs get really heavy and it's hard for me to walk, and I'm very reluctant to like go forward. It sort of feels like molasses or something thick, and it's kind of pushing and pushing you away, wanting you to retreat. And that's a positive signal to me that there's an energy, something going on up ahead. And it can also make it hard to breathe. You sort of feel a heaviness in your chest, and you keep walking through that. You get to a point where it suddenly goes away, and then you're in it, right before you reach it, kind of thing. There's like a space around it. And I think it's sort of a natural energetic, I don't know that it's a protection or whatever, but it certainly acts like an energetic barrier buffer kind of thing, and keeps the average person from just stumbling into them. And the thing about power spots and ley lines is that they have a tendency to increase whatever space you are in when you arrive, especially power spots. So if you're, having a bad day and feeling agitated and you approach a power spot, then you're going to get more and more agitated and angry and reactive. And if you're in a meditative, calm, and spiritual kind of space, that's going to increase that and your awareness. I find when we go to the power spot in Southern Oregon, it's like it really opens up my clairvoyant abilities, and I have a lot of experiences when I'm there because I allow it to happen, and I'm not worried about it. So that's sort of like a basic kind of thing. It's off the top of my head here. Jono says, I love you guys. Have to go. Have a great week. Bye, Jono. That says, love Jono. Ian says, bye, Jono, and blessed be. Glad to hear from you. Carla says, ley lines make me feel bouncy. You can douse for them, but you can physically feel them, kind of like a head rush with a buzz electric. Gabriel says, bye, Jono. Darkbick says that, Carla, that feeling is literally on tap when you go to Sedona. It can overload you. I got a strong tension in my solar plexus after standing in a vortex without knowing it at the time. Sounds sort of like what I'm trying to describe. That says, remember the neighbor that cut the trees down for a pool? After all the work on the pool, she gave up and is filling the hole up. She ran out of money. Oh my. Well, that was a bit of a waste of all those trees. Carla says, we have a place in Pennsylvania called Columcille Megalith Park. It's on Blue Mountain and so surreal. If you can, see if your map mentions Blue Mountain, Pennsylvania. I'll take a look. Probably sounds like something like that. And I'm sure there's a lot of those types of sites throughout North America. That says she has to demolish all the pillars and brick. Spirit took care of everything. Gabrielle says, this is motivation for me to heal from disassociation because I can feel shifts more easily and pay more attention to sensations and learn what to do. Exactly. And that way you can trust your feelings. And if you can figure out what they mean, that gives you a lot of information. Beth says, Siofra, oh my, that's exactly what happens to me. I live on a ley line. Beth says, Gabrielle, that's wonderful. Nicholas said, thank you. So Beth, if you don't want to live inside of the ley line, here's how you make your house into an island, if that's what you wish. Get some obsidian, petrified stone, or one of those kind of stones. Figure out which direction the energy's flowing, which for me is pretty simple. I stand in the house, close my eyes, and see which way my body moves. I let the energy push me, and then I know which way the current is. I'm sure you can figure that out. And then you place it on the outside of the house, right where it's coming into the house, and that pushes the energy down into the ground. And then you go to the opposite end of the house, and you put in like jade or some other kind of stone like that onto the ground to pull the energy back up, and it makes it go like this. So you're not disrupting the ley line. When the house is gone, the stones are gone, it'll just put itself back up on the surface, but it gives you that kind of a break. But if your house is on a slope and it's a downward slope, I found out across the street we have one of those slope kind of things, and the house right across the street had the ley line was right up on top of it, and I did that there, and I went down to the bottom of the street and I put the stone in there, and the current came and it knocked me over flat on my back. So be careful. Just be aware that that can happen. But if you don't, that's fine too. You know best. Gabrielle says, yeah, Carla, I notice more spiritual sights when I'm trying to sleep. Artbit says that, Carla, I wish there was a similar site in Northern California, but I found Mount Shasta. There's much lore to that place. Well, the power spot that Ian and I stay at is not far from Northern California. It's in Southern Oregon, and it's like about halfway between Medford and Klamath Falls on that road that goes between them, and it's a horse camp. I'd have to look up the name of the horse camp, but there's a cabin that you can rent without a horse, and that's a power spot for sure. So you could probably find that. That says the house is in a bubble. I feel where it is. That's great guidance. Thank you.
I was just going to say, I always thought Shasta was quite an amazing feeling place.
Yeah, definitely.
I loved going by there when we visited Shasta. Now we're a little bit farther away, so it takes us like an extra 4 hours to get there from what it would have previously. So
well, yeah.
Now it's a long ways away.
Yeah, it's like a 6 to 8 hour trip, depending on how many times we have to eat and go to the bathroom.
I lived in Medford. It was a little bit quicker to go there, so we went there a few times.
Yeah, we went there. That's where I got the heart stone for our hand fasting. The strangers came and gave it to me.
Yeah, and we went to the Sweat there in Panther
we went
Meadows
to the Sweat,
till the mountain destroyed Panther Meadows.
Yep. As far as I know, I haven't checked into it. Gabrielle, since she lives in the area, might be able to tell us. Panther Meadows is still closed and underneath the avalanche. That's where they were doing the sweat lodges previously.
Yeah, I don't think they were going to reopen it last I heard. Of course, it's been several years since I looked.
It's been a while.
But yeah.
25 years maybe.
Yeah, well, you get so old, you know. A year seems like less and less time. Seems like last week, you know.
I know, it's true. Teresa says that cabin comes with a resident rat, doesn't it?
Yes, it
Yeah,
does, as
and
a
he
matter of
is
fact.
big, and he
Actually, it
is
was a, what was it? It
noisy.
was a vole.
Is that what it was? A vole?
I think it was a vole, yes. We thought it was a rat, and then we were reading in they left a log up there, a visitor's log, people write in there, and it was a rat-like creature, but I
Yeah,
think
whatever it was, it stared at me several times. I'm
yeah,
just
of
like,
course,
yeah.
previously we had a giant pack rat in there, but this time I think it was a vole or something like that, another little rat-like creature.
Yep. Carla says, Gabrielle, they like to play when the photons go away. Spiritual sights when you're trying to sleep. Gabrielle says, ha ha. And Beth says, and a troll. Yep, that's true. There's a forest troll up there that I met. He was pretty awesome. I really liked him. Watching some show the other day that had a troll in it. I guess that's Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters or something. And they have a character that's a troll that helps the witch. And at one point, and I thought he was pretty cute.
So apparently it's not a vole. Voles are small.
I thought so.
This guy was pack rat
He was
size. He was
big.
big, yeah.
Yeah, he's a big guy. Whatever he was a size. He is a size. And you won't have too many trouble with squirrels because I terrified the squirrels when I was there.
You want to know what drove me nuts once? Just because we're talking about this stuff, when the lights go out, I once had a cricket get into my waterbed, and whenever I turn out the lights, it wait about an hour, and then it would start going. And since it was right in my waterbed frame, I couldn't get rid of it. I had to actually drain the waterbed and take the whole thing apart. And I never found it. Then when I put it back together again, I was always afraid it was going to start in again, but it didn't. But boy, I'll tell you, that's annoying when you got one right under your head that starts up whenever you turn the lights out.
So Gabrielle says, Carla, when I think about the fairies, they touch my hands or feet. They're telepathic. Teresa says, might have been a mole. No, it had eyes. It wasn't blind. It definitely wasn't a mole. Whatever it was, though, it was big. That says, the troll is blushing now that you mentioned him. Gabrielle says, I have one that grabs my feet whenever I'm doing the dishes. Just trying to help. Making sure you don't forget them. Definitely got warm.
Yes, it did.
Carla says, they're the in-betweeners, girl. They'll tickle, tickle. It was kind of fun running into my dragon, though. We didn't have much of a chat. We were just like, reminiscing about flying to the moon. And I was rubbing his nose, like between his eyes and his, yeah, it was pretty neat. I'm like, oh, hi, haven't seen you in forever. I like the fact that I have things that just come to visit randomly. Gabrielle says, laugh out loud, Ian. I told the cricket to shut up once in front of my friend, and the cricket shut up immediately, and we both were cracking up.
Well, that's cool.
If only that would work for us all the time.
There are the Indian guys. It's been pretty well documented that actually kill scorpions with a mantra.
Yeah.
Not that we want to kill things, but
Right.
It's interesting.
Well, when I was at the first medicine wheel, the native medicine men got together and had a conversation with the mosquitoes and asked them to leave the area alone for the 3 days that we were there, and they did. That was really quite remarkable. I was quite impressed. Teresa says, Google says Oregon has a large rodent called, that's it, a nutria, maybe a nutria. Yeah, oregano, I know, I knew you meant Oregon. Not oregano. My sister calls it Oregon. She doesn't know that we don't pronounce it that way. She's from the east.
Now, it wasn't. Now that's a little bit bigger than it was. And
Bigger
that's,
than
yeah.
it
The Nutria
was.
looks cool though. I didn't know he had any of those. Like 20 pounds.
Oh yeah, I think it was less than 20 pounds. It was probably about between 5 and 10.
It's also known as a koi poo.
Ah.
Burrow-dwelling, semi-aquatic rodent native to South America. Resembles a giant rat. But this is like actually bigger.
So Darkbit says, gotta go, peace and love. Bye, Darkbit. Thank you for coming. See you next time, maybe. Teresa says, also known as Gorgon. Oregon, yeah, Gorgon. Or Regon is how
Well,
they say it back east.
kids in my high school always used to call it Borigan.
I like that. I never heard that since
Yeah,
I wasn't raised
I lived
here.
in Medford. Everybody called it Deadford Borigan. It was actually a bigger city than we live in now. So, but anyway.
And Carla says, bye, Darkbit. Head out to Santa Cruz if you're close. Gabrielle says, yeah, they're sweeties. Mischievous but cute. If I ever cuss them out for their antics, they get their little friends and laugh. Yeah, well, they think we're funny, so.
The name of that thing, the nutria, the other name of it literally means mouse beaver.
Yeah, I think those are definitely a lot bigger. This guy was
Yeah.
probably about like that big, I think. So, pack rat size, a little bit bigger
Yeah.
than a pack rat. And
These guys are kind of cute, but they're not the right shape. These guys have a bigger end. And
yeah.
they're cute though. Right. Nice to know they're around.
Surprising. I thought they were just in South America. You never know, though. We've got weird things in Oregon. We've got Darlingtonias, which is a prehistoric. What do you call those plants? It eats insects.
Yeah, they're a
Carnivorous plant.
And we found a
bunch of them.
There's a Darlingtonia garden down here, but we found a bunch by accident. We were going hiking around and camping around near a place called Vulcan Lake.
Out by Brookings.
Southern
Oregon. And we were just hiking through the woods and we came across these Darlingtonias. We're like, those look very strange. They look like prehistoric.
Yeah, they're a pitcher plant.
Yeah.
Yep. Carnivorous pitcher plants.
They're not like the one that goes like this. They just sit there and then the things fall in them and they digest them with the fluids. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they attract them and stuff.
Right.
Weird.
Yeah. Their smell.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah. They're going like, hey, come and check me out.
That was cool,
Fall in, you can't get out.
Finding some Darlingtonias by accident. I never knew they grew around here, so that was news for me at the time.
Yep. I'm like, wow, those are odd looking creature thingies.
And now there's a whole north of Florence, just slightly north of Florence, I believe is where it's
That's
at.
where the Darlingtonia. Yeah. The
walkway, you can get on a walkway and walk amongst them, yeah.
And you can look at them and go like, you are very odd looking and interesting. And wow, you live here.
Yep.
Gabrielle says they're mostly pretty well behaved, but living with them for the past 2 years has taught me to have boundaries. Doesn't mean I hate them, but I need a break sometimes. Well, yeah. That's the thing.
Yeah. Sometimes I just need a break from her cat meowing.
Yes, you did yell at him today.
Well, by the way, he's hiding in the bedroom now. Ashley's bedroom.
Oh, okay.
Apparently he's hiding from the little tiny kitten.
He's hiding from the kitten in the carrier.
Bunny doesn't care. The bunny's just bebopping around.
Oh, good. So he's out there checking him out now? All right.
Well, he's not even checking him out. He's not even interested.
He's just bopping around.
Yeah, well, Kitty is still sleeping. So,
he just probably ran when granddaughter came with the cat.
Yep.
Yeah. Animals are funny. Well, we told him not to yell at the kitten anymore, so he probably felt bad, too. And he's, like, shamed. Carla says, we supposedly have Raystown Ray. We definitely don't, but people think all sorts of things. The Nessie of the dam. Ah.
Cryptids.
Yes. Every place has got some cryptids, it seems.
Seems like that's a cryptic name for them, if you ask me.
Cryptid is a cryptic name, huh?
Yep.
Yep. Teresa says the Crowns are the top fans. Yes, they are. So thank you all for being fans.
Good time if anybody has any last questions.
Yeah, we got like 5 minutes left. Time flies when
Last
you're having
comments.
fun. Yeah, that was pretty funny when I fell down the fell down the street. Gabriella says, I yelled at my cat and he ran away, but it was only because I didn't want him to eat something that he wasn't supposed to. Yeah, they don't necessarily understand. They don't know we're trying to be helpful.
We got a good kitty though. He's just very stressed out. But even like a little kitty, like that little baby kitty cat in a carrier, it's like he's very sensitive.
He's very sensitive. He's very emotional. Carla says, the only thing we have are people dumping their pet alligators. Oh my.
Yeah, I guess it's a good thing about not living in Florida. You don't have to worry about that nearly as much.
Oh, Gabrielle says, then I picked him up and apologized and he was fine and purring. Yes.
Yeah.
Teresa says, are you doing anything more for this full moon? No, I think I've done enough. But who knows? I might be doing something more that I don't know about until I go to bed. So what can I say? It's an open question. That's why I don't have plans. I never know what the universe might bring into my room or my door or my life or what have you. And so if I say no, nothing's going to happen, then something definitely will, because that's how it works. So yeah, I try to live in the moment and not have too many organized plans. Beth says, this has been an incredible live. Blessed be to one and all of my spirit family. Thank you, Beth. We're glad to have you guys. It's good to have a core group, and it's always nice to get new people coming in and checking in and getting acquainted and stuff with our weekly process.
Yes, it is.
We're almost done with all of the chores and hairs and things that need to be done, so they can get back into focusing on getting some videos out. But it's been a productive summer. Gabrielle says, blessed be Beth. Yes, blessed be Beth. We're getting all the hearts at the end.
Giving us lots of hearts.
Yep, we're getting lots of hearts. We like the hearts. Since we've only got 2 minutes, we might as well say goodbye now. So early, haha. I don't think we get to answer a question at this point. So, Carla says, we're going out for an evening drive in the hollows to watch the moon rise. I'll be sprinkling some amethyst chips. Ooh, awesome. Gabrielle says, I've been feeling a lot of peace and safer at night, so I'm thankful. Good. Teresa says, have you painted the temple yet? That's going to be our winter project. We were talking about that just the other day. Because it doesn't matter what the weather is doing. We can do it inside. So Ian says, farewell and blessed be. Carla says, happy full moon, everyone. Yes, and everybody, even though the eclipse has already happened, the moon is still full of energy and you can still do stuff with it. Gabrielle says, thank you guys for helping me. I'm doing so much better than I was 2 years ago. Awesome. Teresa says, full moon. And Ian says, hope you all have a great coming week. All right, guys. This has been fabulous, as usual. We really enjoy ourselves. Carla says, blessed be Siofra and Ian, love you all. Ickle says, my phone finally notified me of the new video. Have a wonderful week, all. Blessed be. All right, Ickle, enjoy watching. And we'll see you guys later. Bye.